Recursive type constraints are finally available in Go 1.26, and the Go team has shown a little more love for generics. Therefore, in this video, we will just take a look at what they really are and how to really use them in Go. So let's just get started. Okay, so let's just first clarify the question, what even are recursive type constraints? Now, generally, recursive type constraint, which is also named f-bounded polymorphism, is pretty similar to languages like Java, and they just generally allow a generic type constraint to reference itself. Now, before Go 1.26, it just caused a compile error, and the workaround was just to use a lose any constraint, which then in the end just forced you to kind of do unsafe type assertions, losing all compile time type safety, which in the end might just end up with runtime panics instead of just compiler errors when mixing types. A practical use case for these recursive type constraints is pretty much whenever you want to express a type that can operate on its own kind. And one use case would be a really simplified linked list. So let's just have a look at this. And what we can do first is create a node, right? Because every list or linked list just contains nodes. So we can just declare an interface here, and we will call it node and then interface. And right here, we will just apply a recursive type constraint right here in our node interface. And what we'll say is t, and then we will just say node and then t again. Now what you can see here is basically that the node refers to itself. Again, this is just the error before Go 1.26. With Go 1.26, this error is resolved and is basically non-existent anymore for this particular use case right here. So what we have now is that this node interface is just a generic interface with a recursive type constraint. And t in this case is just a type parameter, which basically is a placeholder for a concrete type. And no t as the constraint just means t must itself implement this node interface. And this is called f-bounded polymorphism. So the interface refers back to itself. And again, before Go 1.26, writing this node t caused a compile error, and just the only workaround was really to use any right here, which loses all type safety. Now in this node interface, what we will declare are two methods. The first one is just next, returning a pointer t, and then we will also have a pref function, which will also return a pointer t. So here in plain English, what this really means is that t must be a type that has next and pref methods that return a pointer to itself, not to some other type, not to any. And the next method right here just returns this pointer t, which is a pointer to the concrete type, obviously. And because of the recursive constraint, the compiler knows the return type is pointer t and not a vague any. And the pref method basically works the same, but points backwards in the list. So next always points to the next node in the list. But it's important to highlight that we will never really use this pref method right here, or the pref struct field even, which we will implement in a minute, basically because to just simplify things. And we will also skip a tail pointer to keep things really simple, right? And with that out of the way, we can now declare a list struct. So let's just say type list and then struct. Now this list struct is a generic doubly linked list, and here we just repeat t node t, right? And this is just the same constraint, so t must satisfy the node interface. And this just ensures the list type only works with types that implement the next and pref methods. And then in here, we just have the head, which is pointer t. Again, we will just skip the tail struct field right here. So head is here just the entry point of the list, and it's a pointer t, so the pointer to the concrete type. So it can be nil, which just would mean that it is an empty list. Okay, and let's just implement our first method of the doubly linked list, which will be the each function. So what we're going to say is just L, and then we will just declare a simple receiver method. We'll say list and then t, and then each, and then we just have a parameter right here, which will be of type func, so it is a function itself, and then pointer t, right? So just a quick explanation, each just traverses the list and calls the fn parameter on every single element, and fn right here just receives the pointer t, so the concrete pointer type, so the caller always gets a fully typed value and never an untyped any to unwrap. Okay, and then we just start at the head of the list with a simple for loop. So we say current and then we say l.head, and as long as the current is not equal to nil, we will basically call the user provided function with the current node, which is current obviously. And then for the third part of our for loop construct, we just say cur is equal to, and then we explicitly dereference the cur, and then we say dot next. Now don't get confused by the arrows right here. This still runs on the Go LSP 1.25 and not 1.26. So why do we really use this dereference cur and then point next? Well, first, the constraint node t is on t and not pointer t. So really the compiler only knows t has next, and it cannot really assume that pointer t does this as well. And we explicitly dereference here to really give us a value of type t on which next, so the next method, is guaranteed by the constraint. I hope that kind of makes sense here. Okay, and this is our first method for the doubly linked list. Now let's just create an item struct right here. Now item is just a concrete node type for our doubly linked list. And it's really an intrusive list node which just carries its own next and pref pointers directly inside the struct rather than in a separate wrapper. So what we can just define here is the value, for instance. So we will just uppercase this one. So value string, which just holds the data for a particular node. And then we have a next struct field, which will be of type pointer, and then item and pref as well. Now next and pref are pretty much lowercase here because we are using them for internal wiring, and they are just pointing to the next or previous node in the list, nothing really fancy. Okay, let's just declare two methods here for our item struct. So item, and then we will name this method next, and this will return a pointer item, and then we will return i.next. Really simple. We will do the same thing with pref, right? And then we say i.pref. Now again, this next method just returns the following node in the list, and we are using value receivers right here because we are not really mutating anything. And also, if we use pointer receivers instead, the pointer item would satisfy the constraint, not item itself. So we'd have to write list pointer item, adding an extra layer of interaction due to double pointers we would basically have to add. A quick spelling mistake right here, obviously it's pref. And then let's just create three independent nodes. Each is a basically pointer type for now, not yet linked. So we will just say a, and then we will create item, and let's just say value is a. We will do the same thing with B and C, right? So we have three individual nodes for our doubly linked list right here. And now let's just manually set up the wiring for the doubly linked list. So what we want to achieve is that basically A points to B, B points to A, and B points to C, and C points to B. So what we can say is A.next is equal to B. We say B.pref is equal to A. Then we have B.next is equal to C. And then also C.pref is equal to B. So basically with this wiring, A points to B, B points to A, B points to C, and C points to B. Now A.pref and C.next are just nil by default, and they just mark the list boundaries. Okay, and then we are going to create the list. So we say list, and then we just use the list struct right here. And then we define head is equal to A basically. And as a generic parameter, we will just use item. Now here we just create the list starting at node A, and right here for this list item, the compiler now verifies here that item really satisfies node item. And if the item struct didn't really implement the node interface, this line would fail right here at compile time and not at runtime. And this is basically the big improvement. And then what we can do is we can just traverse the linked list and print the things. So right here we just say list each, and then we will use function, and then let's just use fmt.println i.value. Now right here the closure just receives the pointer item, which is fully typed in this case. So we have no type assertions, no panics, just safe and concrete types, which is really lovely. Okay, let's just run this code, and what we will see is ABC. Quite cool, quite easy. Again, now we've successfully used these recursive type constraints, which is a new feature in Go 1.26. Hopefully Go generics will get a bit fancier in the future as well. Now the code again can be quite complex, but if you try to modify things and play around with this really simple implementation of a doubly linked list, then I think you get a feeling for what is right, what is wrong, and what works and what doesn't work. Hopefully you found this video informative and learned something new today. Go 1.26 also introduced a new errors.as type function, and if you want to find out more about this function, feel free to check out this video right here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and bye bye.